You are currently viewing a photo from the May 7th, 1910 Duluth Evening Herald of the then nicknamed Fort Corkeran, also known as the Old Water Reservoir Ruins in Duluth, Minnesota. And today, we take a closer look at the Old World Reservoir Ruins in Duluth, Minnesota, supposedly built in 1884. So we are told, nestled above 1st Street between 10th and 11th Avenues West in Duluth, Minnesota, lies the overgrown shell of the city's first water reservoir, known today as Fort Corkeran, built in 1884 by the privately owned Duluth Gas and Water Company. The reservoir was strategically placed over a natural spring that once produced 8 barrels of water a day. Though it was a significant early effort to manage the city's water needs, the structure fell out of use by the time Duluth began constructing a more modern municipal water system in 1898. The aging reservoir was left to decay as the city advanced. And here we have our second photo of these ruins, dated just 1915, just supposedly 29 years after the structure was built. They tell us that Fort Corkeran in Duluth, Minnesota got its name after Irish immigrant J.M. Corkeran bought the old reservoir in 1909. He had grand ideas like turning it into a mini Noah's Ark with animals, a roller rink, or even rooms for rent. The nickname likely came from the eccentric, fortress-like vibe of his over-the-top plans. And here we are already looking at ruins, almost equivalent to what we see today. And they tell us by 1915, the reservoir had already slipped into ruin, but its story had etched itself into the local lore. Even today, remnants of its brick-lined interior walls endure, and traces of other forgotten structures can be found scattered throughout the surrounding woods, likely the remains of early homes. Though silent and weather-worn, Fort Corkeran remains a hidden landmark, a peculiar fusion of Duluth's industrial past and one man's whimsical dreams. So in this photo, these ruins are only 29 years old at this time. I mean, look at them, and look at, there's walls in here. I mean, so they made a building out of these ruins, yet you can tell, look, it's kind of shanty with all this just junk wood. There obviously used to be windows or doors on the sides. What kind of a water reservoir has windows or doors? That's kind of impressive, if you ask me. And then you look at these old pictures. I mean, this looks like some old ramshackle. It doesn't look that much different than it does now, other than all the stuff on top of it. Maybe a few layers of bricks have been taken off the top level just from people messing with it and deterioration. But other than that, and letting these trees grow in the middle and the homeless all over in here. But I mean, besides all that, this thing almost looks identical to the picture in 1915. I mean, here we have the old world brick in here. I mean, what kind of a reservoir has interior walls? And, you know, I don't know, maybe the brick lining, you would think it would be a tile. You know, I guess I'm not sure about reservoirs, but this seems like a small reservoir. And where's this spring, this natural spring? Did it just go away? Did it come right out of the rocks here? And then when it was Fort Corkeran in the first picture in 1910, it had a makeshift wooden roof and that makeshift walkway that looked like just junk. I mean, there's no way that was original. And looking at these old photos of these ruins here from 1915, it certainly isn't clear that this was a water reservoir by any means. I mean, just take a look at it and look at how it's been repurposed here. And I guess this is how you would assume that in 1915 somebody would repurpose an old structure like this, I guess. And noticing that these internal walls seem to be in ruins as well. That certainly doesn't line up with the narrative we're given that this was a water reservoir and only 30 years old. And for our third photo, this one is circa 1922 to 1930, and you can see they've removed all the ramshackle roofing on this, and now she looks remarkably similar to today. Not much has changed. And it really makes you wonder how a structure like this could deteriorate so fast in its first 30 years, and yet seem to plateau until current times here. And you're going to see here, folks, in this presentation that there are ruins and old stone walls and stairways all over within a 2-mile plus radius of this structure. And in doing this exploration, I was forced to cover this whole square area here because of the intense amount of ruins. And that brings us down just below West Michigan Street to these unidentified ruins here. And from this view, we can see I-35 north and south in the background, and you can also see all the garbage left from the homeless that camp out here, which tends to be the same in a lot of these ruins in this general vicinity here. And with this brick and stone, was this really 2 generations on these ruins before they were ruins? Or did they not get affected during the X Factor event, which is what we seem to see throughout the realm here. And here's a bird's eye view of what appears to be a tunnel underneath all of this here, and through it runs a creek, and you can see how it's dilapidated, but it used to be a square entryway under stone entryway. And here from the Library of Congress, I have a picture from 1898, and they include these specific ruins we're looking at here. So they're already ruins in 1898. The city was only, 70, 80, 90, 38 years old at this point? Kind of interesting, and yet there are no real explanations for what this is. And as you can see from this point of view, there is Fort Corkeran, or the old water reservoir ruins. And panning west towards Point of Rocks. And if you notice, on the bottom of the screen is the M&H gas station. To the far left is I-35. Down the center is West Michigan Street, and to the right of the Y is West Superior Street. And let me take you down here personally into the ruins with a first-hand point of view. Now you tell me, folks, what was this supposed to be? It really amazes me how many ruins there are in this square area, and how many of them are unexplained. Yet our city didn't start till 1870-ish. And here we are, by the turn of the century, we have all these ruins that are still unexplained. It wasn't really that long ago. Yeah, the city's only 140 years old, roughly. But we still can't tell you what all these ruins are right next to downtown. Also, and scattered at the bottom of all of these bluffs, are pieces of rock, as well as old bricks. And there are all sorts of metal poles like this coming out of giant rocks all the way up the hill. Notice the pieces of brick on the trail in front of me. And this here they say is evidence of a stone quarry. I guess I don't see that. And then here I am entering over on the other end of the Point of Rocks here, and you can see there's all of these unidentified stairways and trails that eventually bring me to the top of the Point of Rocks. What really was this? What a terrific view here from the top of the Point of Rocks towards the harbor and Lake Superior. And from up here we can view the ruins on which I was just exploring previously. Ruins of an obviously substantial structure at one point. And from this height, I was able to get a beautiful shot of the old world aerial lift bridge. And what is known as the Point of Rocks in Duluth, Minnesota, is a rocky outcrop located west of downtown Duluth near Skyline Parkway. It's known for its exposed bedrock and stunning views of the harbor and Lake Superior. This area is just littered in ruins, and we are told the ruins at the Point of Rocks are remnants of an old quarrying and construction site from the late 1800s to early 1900s. Much of the rock from this area was used for building foundations, street work, and breakwaters during Duluth's rapid growth period The ruins likely include stone foundations or footings from temporary structures or machinery used during quarrying, and retaining walls or rock cuts along the hillside, and remains of rail or tram systems that may have transported quarried rock. Some historians speculate these ruins might also include abandoned housing foundations from early workers or structures related to Duluth's early utilities and infrastructure development. Now let's compare some aerial shots from today all the way back to 1939 here of the Point of Rocks. And our first comparison is 1939. You can see how there's quite a few structures still on here right now on the Point of Rocks. Now 1961, you can still see there's some structures and this road almost appears to go through still. Then in 1972, we have barely any structures left. Then that brings us to 1981, where it appears to be snowfall in here, and there appears to be zero structures, and that trail seems to be disappearing. Point of Rocks, a massive rock formation near 13th Avenue West and Superior Street in Duluth, has been the subject of removal efforts since 1887 due to safety concerns and the city's desire to straighten Superior Street. Explosions and erosion caused large rock falls in 1924 and 1931, prompting further calls to eliminate the landmark. Despite these efforts, Point of Rocks still stands, albeit reduced in size, and remains a notable feature around which Superior Street curves. Over time, the outcropping was also used for advertisements and even considered as a canvas for public art by Mount Rushmore sculptor Gutzon Borglum, who ultimately rejected the job because the rock was too hard to carve. Interesting. And they tell us the glen below Point of Rocks began as a French settlement and later housed Italian rail and dock workers and hillside shanties. Though later cleared and redeveloped, traces like foundations and Duluth's first reservoir remain. And looking up towards West First Street, we can see it is supported by an old stone wall, ancient looking, known as the Whoopi Wall. The Whoopi Wall got its name as a tongue-in-cheek response to a graffiti that once read "whore" on the cliff rock face. Climbers jokingly pronounced it as Whoopi, like the Lakota spirit, turning a crude tag into a humorous and more socially acceptable name. And examining this little area here, the streets and avenues defy the standard Duluth rules. For the avenues normally run north to south, and the streets run east to west. Here you can see the avenues interchange with the street. Here, 15th Avenue West is running east to west as it rounds. And then it's First Street, West First Street, down here below that doesn't connect. And if you go up, it's also West 1st Street directly above it. I mean, how is this even the case? How are these not named something else? And we are told that the Point of Rocks has an abandoned silver mine that originated in 1883 after traces of silver were discovered in the area. This sparked the formation of the Duluth Silver and Copper Mining Company, which included notable figures like former Mayor Clinton Markle. Mining operations began shortly after the company's founding and initially showed promise with high-quality ore that valued at the modern equivalent of $1,200 per pound. The city supported the venture through ordinances allowing mining within the city limits, and by mid-1884, a 20-foot shaft had been dug with a steam-powered drill and a small labor force. Despite early optimism, the mine faced increasing challenges and failed to uncover a profitable silver vein. By June of 1885, just 15 years after the city's founding, operations ceased, and the mine was abandoned. Remaining structures were discarded into the 200-foot deep shaft. Today, the site of the mine lies almost directly beneath the intersection of West Superior Street and Mesaba Avenue. Though the area has been altered by the construction of Interstate 35, which buried part of the Point of Rocks in dirt, the shaft likely still exists, hidden out of sight. And this is my first time discovering these ruins here, south of Superior Street, right on the corner of Garfield, Piedmont, and West Superior Street. Do we have what appears to be melted brick? And then across the avenue I noticed more ruins, pale brick wall and stone. But I did not include pictures and video for this video. I apologize for that. And here I take you to where the Whoopi Wall starts as it protrudes off of a cliff. You can see exactly where the wall starts here. And it must be just like all the tunnels under this city, not worth mentioning when given our official history and timeline. And it's also interesting how part of the wall kind of steps out like this. As if it was, I don't know, damaged or designed this way. I can't tell. Imagine putting all of these stones into place, some of them as large as a small car, with horse and buggy. And I don't know what to conclude here, folks. All I know is it is strange there are so many ruins at such an early time period of our city's history. And I didn't mean to make such a big video, but there's so many ruins in such a small area that I didn't even do this justice. Well, what do you folks think? Thank you for watching such a long video if you stayed through. And please leave your comments below. I'm interested to hear what you all think. And as always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.